So we have already completed the different components of ecosystem. We have already completed the different components of the ecosystem. So the productivity, then decomposition. Then we had also uh, started with the detrivores, decomposition and detrivores we have completed. So energy flow also we have completed. Nutrient cycling is left out. So before the proceeding to the nutrient cycling, we'll discuss about this ecological pyramids. Okay, so very interesting aspect of it. We'll study this ecological pyramids. See, what are ecological pyramids? The representation of a food chain in the form of a pyramid, we call it as ecological pyramid. The representation of a food chain in the form of a pyramid, we call it as ecological pyramid. So base of this ecological pyramid, ಈ ಬೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತದ್ದು ಯೂಶಲಿ ಗಿಡಗಳಿರುತ್ತೆ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಆಟೋಟ್ರೋಸ್ ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿಂಥಸೈಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಓನ್ ಫುಡ್ ಸೊ ದಿ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಈ ಪಿರಮಿಡಲ್ ಬರುವಂತದ್ದು ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಹರ್ಬಿವೋರಸ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ ಈ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ರಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಬಂದು ಕಾರ್ನಿವೋರಸ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕಾರ್ನಿವೋರ್ or they are secondary consumer, you can also call it as. Okay, the representation of a food chain in the form of a pyramid is called as ecological pyramid. The base of a pyramid always represents the producers, that is the first trophic level. The apex represents the tertiary or top level consumer. So most of the time it is tertiary or top level consumer. So the apex of the pyramid represents the tertiary or top level consumer or top carnivore, you can also call it as. So ecological pyramids, they are of three types: pyramid of numbers, pyramid of biomass, and pyramid of energy. So ecological pyramids are of three types: pyramid of numbers, pyramid of biomass, and pyramid of energy. So pyramid of number ಅಲ್ಲಿ grassland ecosystem is the example. So you can notice that the primary producers are the base of the pyramid. So PP is nothing but primary producers. So number of individuals, if you look into in grassland ecosystem, the primary producers are nearly 58 lakh 42,000 plants are the primary producers. Primary consumer, what is their number? 7 lakh 8,000. So the secondary consumer, their number is 3 lakh 54,000. They are the carnivores, primary carnivores. The tertiary consumer is the secondary carnivore or top carnivore. So the number of individuals in tertiary consumer is much more lesser. It is only three of them. So this is in case of a grassland ecosystem, and you can notice that it is an upright pyramid. It is not inverted, it is upright pyramid. The base of the pyramid is primary producer, so whose number is nearly 58 lakh 42,000. Primary consumer is 7 lakh 8,000. Secondary consumer is 3 lakh 54,000. Tertiary consumer is only three in number, so the top carnivore. So you can just see the numbers, how they are reducing as they reach the apex of the pyramid. So drastic reduce in the tertiary consumer. So this is what you notice in case of a grassland ecosystem based on the number of individuals. It is an upright pyramid or erect pyramid, upright pyramid it is. Now pyramid of biomass. So biomass is dry weight we are taking it kg per meter cube. So per kg per meter cube, the dry weight. So it shows a sharp decrease in biomass at higher trophic level. So primary producers, their dry weight is 809 kg per meter cube. So primary consumer is the herbivore whose weight is around 37 kg per meter cube. Secondary consumer is 11 kg per meter cube and tertiary consumer is 1.5 kg per meter cube. So the biomass, you can notice that primary producers have more biomass than the apex form, which is the tertiary consumer. So progressively in the pyramid, so the biomass is going to reduce when it moves from one trophic level to another trophic level. So it's an upright pyramid. So it shows a sharp decrease in biomass at higher trophic levels. So there is drastic decrease, isn't it? From primary producers, it was 809 kg per meter cube, but in tertiary uh, consumer, which is the highest trophic level, it is just 1.5 kg per meter cube. Now there is inverted pyramid of biomass. If you take small standing crop of phytoplanktons and zooplanktons, it's an inverted pyramid of biomass. So the small standing crop, see, I've already discussed what is standing crop. The amount of the amount of the living organism in a particular area during a particular period. So we call that as the standing crop. So yesterday I defined about the standing crop. Now the small standing crop, which consists of only the phytoplanktons and zooplanktons, you can notice that phytoplanktons, primary producers or phytoplanktons, they are very less in number, four of them. But the primary consumers, so they are larger in number, nearly 21 of them is there. So this is an inverted pyramid of biomass. For a small standing crop, you find this inverted pyramid of biomass. So where they have only two components, phytoplankton and zooplanktons. So small standing crop, you notice this. So the phytoplanktons are lesser in number when compared to that of the primary consumers. The primary producers, they convert the pyramid of energy, third one. So we have completed pyramid of uh, numbers, pyramid of biomass. The third one is pyramid of energy. So energy flow. So the primary producers convert only 1% of the energy in the sunlight available to them into net primary productivity. The primary producers, they convert only 1% of the energy in the sunlight available to them into net primary productivity. So flow of energy, I've already discussed about how there is only 40% of photosynthetically active radiation. The plants are going to utilize 10 to 15% of this photosynthetically active radiation. So if you are looking into primary producers, they convert only 1% of the energy in the sunlight available to them into net primary productivity. So of 10 lakh joules of sunlight, so 1% of that sunlight is utilized um, by the primary producers. So they'll be having 10,000 joules. So 1% of 10 lakh is 10,000 joules. Then you have to apply this 10% law. So as they proceed from lower trophic level to higher trophic level, the energy levels drop down by 10% of it. So in the grazing food chain, this is applicable, the 10% law. So primary producers, so from sunlight, they are absorbing primary producers only 1% of energy. So they are having 10,000 joules. So from 10 lakhs joules of sunlight, they are just having 10,000 joules of energy. The primary consumer or herbivore, it receives 10% of this 10,000 joule, that is 1,000 joules. The secondary consumer receives 10% of this 1,000 joule, which is 100 joule. The tertiary consumer receives 10% of this 100 joules, which is going to be 10 joule. So the topmost carnivore, they are receiving very less amount of energy. So, so you find an upright pyramid in case of pyramid of energy, you find an upright pyramid. Okay, the primary producers, primary consumers, then secondary consumers, the third level consumers, and the final predators. Okay, so energy in during this process, certain amount of energy is also lost as heat energy. So that also you have to remember about. So this is the pyramid of energy, especially this diagram, you have to write it and you have to remember it also. Even in exams, CET as well as NEET, they have asked this and they have asked you to find these numbers. Okay, so we had one or two problems on that basis, isn't it? So remember all these diagrams, numbers, these numbers might not be definite, but for the energies, you should understand the 10% law and 1% of sunlight being used by the primary producers. But when it goes from one trophic level to another, the energy is going to to follow the energy flow is follows the 10% law. The ecological pyramid, let us understand more about it. So any calculation of energy content, biomass or numbers has to include all organisms at that trophic level. So this is one of the parameters. If you are going to calculate energy content or biomass or numbers, it has to include all organisms at that trophic level. So producers, it should include all the organisms at that trophic level. It should include the shrubs, herbs, trees, okay, the algae, the which belongs to plant kingdom. So all these has to be, all the organisms of that trophic level has to be taken into consideration. Similarly for biomass or numbers. And another point that you should remember is a trophic level, it represents a functional level, not a species as such. So a trophic level is just a functional level. So you have a producer, primary consumer, they're all functional level, secondary consumer, tertiary consumers. So they represent a functional level and not a species as such. A given species may occupy more than one trophic level in the same ecosystem at the same time. So a given species might occupy more than one trophic level in the same ecosystem at the same time. An example is sparrow, gubachi. So if they are feeding the seeds and nuts, so they are primary consumer, that is herbivore. If they are feeding the worms and insects, so they are the secondary consumers. So a sparrow is a primary consumer as well as a secondary consumer. So most of us human beings are also the same, isn't it? So almost all the days except Monday, Thursday, and Sunday. So most of us who are non-vegetarians, we are all secondary, primary consumers on Monday, Thursday, and Saturday for some of them. Otherwise, we are secondary consumers. Okay, so when you take a vegetarian food, you are a primary consumer. When you take a non-vegetarian food, you are a secondary consumer in case of human beings. So in sparrows also it is the same. So primary consumer, whenever they are feeding on seeds, fruits and peas, they are all nothing but primary consumer. It's a herbivore. But whenever they are feeding on insects and worms, they are secondary consumers. So the an organism, a given species might occupy more than one trophic level in the same ecosystem at the same time. That is why we have given the quoted the example of sparrow. See, in most of the ecosystems, all the pyramids are upright. That is, producers are more in number and producers are more in number and biomass than the herbivores, and herbivores are more in number and biomass than the carnivores. Also, energy at lower trophic level is always more than at the higher level. So this is what we have understood about the ecological pyramids, whatever we have studied up to now. All the pyramids are upright, that is a straight pyramid or erect pyramid. So we notice whether it is in number, biomass, or energy. Uh, tree. Okay, so you can find an inverted pyramid. So insects feeding on a big tree. So number, inverted pyramid
Sir,
of number
voice
you
is
can.
breaking, sir.
So all of you are getting a, voice clarity is there or is it breaking?
Breaking, sir.
Okay, I don't know why. Fine. So anyway, this is under recorded session. You can also access it later on. One is, even if your internet network signals are weak, there would be a
It's okay, sir.
Now, okay, sir.
voice break might be there. Anyway, let us discuss here the inverted pyramids. Examples for inverted pyramids is insect feeding on a big tree. Okay, so pyramid of biomass is inverted because the biomasses of fishes far exceeds that of phytoplankton. So if you take the biomass of the fishes, it far exceeds the biomass of the phytoplanktons which are at producers level. So the inverted pyramid in an ecosystem in terms of biomass, okay, inverted pyramid of number in case of insects feeding on the uh, tree. So the producer is number is only one. So the insects are in turn fed by the insects, fed by the birds. So the secondary, tertiary, and other things are there. So parasite pyramid is also inverted. So producers herbivores, this herbivores will be having parasites. Parasites will be having hyperparasites. So the pyramid of number in case of parasite is also inverted
Sir, voice is
pyramid.
again breaking, sir.
So it's an inverted pyramid. Okay, see the pyramid of energy is always upright because when energy flows from a trophic level to the next trophic level, some of the energy is always lost as heat at each step. Okay, fine.
It's clear, sir.
Okay, so the next one, limitations of ecological pyramids. What are the limitations of ecological pyramids? See, ecological pyramids talks about food chain. It does not talk about food web. So there are species which belongs to two or more trophic level. We do not take into account the same species which belongs to two or more trophic level. It assumes a simple food chain that never exists in nature. So in nature, you have a food web. So and ecological pyramids does not accommodate a food web. So saprophytes or the decomposers, they are not included in this ecological pyramids, even though they play a vital role in the ecosystem. So the primary conduit of energy in case of the terrestrial ecosystem is detritus food chain. We have discussed in the previous class, but they are not including any saprophytes or decomposers into this ecological pyramids, even though they play a vital role in the ecosystem. See, these are the limitations of ecological pyramids. What are the limitations of the ecological pyramid? It does not take into account the same species which belongs to two or more trophic levels. It assumes a simple food chain that never exists in nature. So there is it. The food chain doesn't exist as a simple food chain. Rather, it is as a food web. Many food chains are interlinked. So we call it as food web. But ecological pyramid does not accommodate a food web. So the saprophytes or the decomposers, they are not included in this ecological pyramids, even though they play a very important role in the ecosystem. So these are the limitations or disadvantages of ecological pyramids. So next we'll go for is ecological succession of plants. Primary succession irate, secondary succession of plants would also be there. So you have studied the xerophytic succession of plants and on a barren rock, so or on a barren soil, you find the ecological succession. So xeric succession we call it as, and then there is the uh, aquatic hydrosphere, that is succession of plants in a uh, water ecosystem, or in case of a lake or a pond, you find this ecological succession. We call it as hydrarch succession. So ecological succession, what is the definition of it? It is a gradual, slow, and predictable change. You can predict what is going to be the next variety of species. So it is a gradual, slow, and predictable change in the species composition of an area leading to a climax community. There is a final community or stage community, which we call it as climax community. So this climax community, it is in equilibrium with the environment. So in the ecological succession, some species colonize an area and increase in number, whereas other species decline and disappear. So ecological succession, it is a gradual, ಸ್ಲೋ ಅಂಡ್ ಪ್ರೆಡಿಕ್ಟಬಲ್. ನೀವು ಊಹೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಯಾವ್ದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಊಹಿಸಬಹುದು. So it is predictable change in the species composition of an area which leads to a climax community. So climax community ಅನ್ನೋದು ಆ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಈಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ವಿತ್ ದಿ ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ಈಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಫರ್ದರ್ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ. ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ ಈಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ ವಿತ್ ದಿ ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ದಿ ಕ್ಲೈಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಫೈನಲ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಫಾರ್ ಅ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್. So this ecological succession, some species colonize an area and they increase in number, while the other species decline and they disappear. So the succession of the entire sequence of communities that successively change in an area, we call it as seer. So the entire sequence of communities that successively change in a given area, we call it as seer. So individual transitional communities are termed as seral stages, okay, or seral communities. The species invading a bare area are called the first species, which invades the bare area or the barren area, we call it as pioneer species. So the pioneer species and other things you should remember. So these are the, if you look into this slide, so the various seral stages are exposed rocks, lichens and mosses. So that is one seral stage. Annual weeds is a seral stage. Perennial weeds and grasses is one seral stage. So this individual transitional communities, we call them as seral stages or seral communities. So the final climax community is a mesophytic forest. So like beech and maple, broadleaf forest in case of European countries. So the species which invades a barren area are called as pioneer species. Like the lichens are the pioneer species which invades a barren area. So we call it as pioneer species or the first species. So the ecological succession, in the successive seral stages, there is a change. See, in each and every seral stage, there is a change in species diversity. So in this seral stage, there is a diversity of lichens and mosses. In the next seral stage, you can find annual weeds. In the next seral stage, you can find the perennial weeds and grasses. So the species diversity you can notice in the successive seral stages, there is a change in the species diversity and increase in number of species and organisms and increase in the total biomass. So as the succession takes place, so through this successive seral stages, so there is an increase in the number of species, there is an increase in biomass, and there is a change in species diversity also. Yes, what is it? There is a change in species diversity also. Sidlingesh, anything you want to discuss?
No, sir.
Okay. See, here one important thing is ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ಇಂದ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸಕ್ಸಸಿವ್ ಸೀರಿಯಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ನೀವು ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸಿ ಈ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪಯನಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಮಾಸಸ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಈ ಸಕ್ಸಸಿವ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜ್ ಇಂದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಹೋದಾಗ ಯು ಮೈಟ್ ಫೈಂಡ್ ದಿ ಫರ್ನ್ಸ್, ಯು ಮೈಟ್ ಫೈಂಡ್ ದಿ ಗ್ರಾಸಸ್, ದಿ ಆನ್ಯುಯಲ್ ವೀಡ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಈ ತರ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಸಕ್ಸಸಿವ್ ಸೀರಿಯಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ವೆರೈಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಇನ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್. ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 4-5 ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಚೇಂಜ್ ಇನ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಯೋಮಾಸ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮಾಸಸ್ ಇಂದ ಆನ್ಯುಯಲ್ ವೀಡ್ಸ್ ಬಯೋಮಾಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್, ಸೊ ದಿ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಬಯೋಮಾಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಚೇಂಜ್. ಸೊ ಕ್ಲೈಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದು ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಬಯೋಮಾಸ್. ಸೊ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಸಕ್ಸಸಿವ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು. ಆದರೆ ವೆರೈಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ. Then there is an increase in number of species and also the increase in total biomass of that species. So the present day communities are because of succession of millions of years. So ಒಂದು millions of years ಇಂದ ಈ plant succession ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. So succession and evolution were parallel process. So the plant succession and evolution ಎರಡು ಜೊತೆಯಾಗಿ ನಡೆಯಿತು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಪ್ಯಾರಲಲ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ವೇರ್ ಪ್ಯಾರಲಲ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್, ಜೊತೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ಎರಡು ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಆಯಿತು, ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನು ಆಯಿತು, ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನು ಆಯಿತು. ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಎರಡು ರೀತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್, ಒಂದು ಹೊಸ ಏರಿಯಾನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಗಿಡಗಳು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗೋದು ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮ್, ಅದನ್ನ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಈಗ ಒಂದರಲ್ಲಿ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಕಾಡಿದೆ, ಮೀಸೋಫಿಟಿಕ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ, ದೇ ಮೈಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬೀನ್ ಬರ್ನ್ಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಆರ್ ದೇ ಮೈಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬೀನ್ ಫ್ಲಡ್ ಮೈಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಹಕ್ಕರ್ಡ್, ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫೈರ್ ಆಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಈ ಅದೇ ಏರಿಯಾನಲ್ಲಿ ಅರ್ಲಿಯರ್ ದೇರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ವೆಜಿಟೇಷನ್, ಅದೇ ಏರಿಯಾನಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗ ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಗಿಡಗಳು ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ. So secondary succession is succession of plants in already earlier existing forest, which was destroyed by natural calamities or human activity. Like it can be a forest fire or it can be a flood, so which might have removed the vegetation. So succession is of two types. Primary succession, for the first time it is taking place, like xeric succession on a barren rock, it is taking place for the first time. Secondary succession is earlier there was a succession of plants that might have got destroyed, and now in that destroyed land there is again the succession of plants, that we call it as secondary succession. Okay. So the succession taking place in an area where no living organism ever existed, that is called as primary succession. One ಬಂಡೆ, ಬ್ಯಾರನ್ ರಾಕ್, ಏನು ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಆ ಬಂಡೆ ಮೇಲೆ ನೀವು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಬೆಟ್ಟ ಗುಡ್ಡಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪೇಂಟ್ ಡ್ರಾಪ್ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಆ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ನೀವು ಬಂಡೆಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಅದನ್ನ ತೆಗಿಯಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಪೇಂಟ್ ಡ್ರಾಪ್ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಆ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇನದು ಪೇಂಟ್ ಡ್ರಾಪ್ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಆ ಥರ ಇರೋದು, ದೇ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ದಿ ಕ್ರಸ್ಟೋಸ್ ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್. ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ಪೀಲ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನ ಕ್ರಸ್ಟೋಸ್ ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ದೇ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಪಯನಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಆನ್ ಅ ಬ್ಯಾರನ್ ರಾಕ್. ಅದು ಕೆಲವು ದಿನಗಳಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಸಾಯುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೊಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಲೈಕನಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಸೆಕ್ರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಬಂಡೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಇಸ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಬೈ ದಿಸ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನರೇಷನ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಫರ್ಟೈಲ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಫರ್ಟೈಲ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಡೆತ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಕೆ ಆಫ್ ದಿಸ್ ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್. ನಾವು that is favorable for grasses to grow. ಅದೇ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ಬೆಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ, ಗ್ರಾಸ್ಗಳು ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನರೇಷನ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಅವು ಕೊಳೆಯುತ್ತವೆ, ಹ್ಯೂಮಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ದೆನ್ ದಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್, ಹರ್ಬ್ಸ್, shrubs, tree forms, the climax community it reaches. ಸೊ ಇಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್, ಮೊದಲನೇ ಬಾರಿ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ನ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. The succession taking place in area where no living organism ever existed, we call it as primary succession. Example, newly cooled lava, barren rock, bande, newly created pond or reservoir. So to establish a biotic community, fertile soil must be formed. So primary succession is a very slow process. ಫರ್ಟೈಲ್ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಬಯೋಟಿಕ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಕ್ರಮೇಣ ಈ ಬಂಡೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್ ಆಕ್ಯುಪೈ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ದೆನ್ ಗ್ರಾಸಸ್, ಬಂಡೆಗಳು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಡಿಸಿಂಟಿಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಲು ಒಂದೊಂದು ಸೀರಿಕ್ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಇಂದ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಫರ್ಟಿಲಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್. ಈ ಕ್ಲೈಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ನೋಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಬಟ್ ಇದು ತುಂಬಾ ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಹಿಂದೆ ಈ ಬಂಡೆ ಆಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ದೆನ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ different seric succession communities have given rise to the climax community. Okay. So to establish a biotic community, fertile soil must be formed. So the level of fertile soil will be maximum in the climax community. So step by step, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಫರ್ಟೈಲ್ ಸಾಯಿಲ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಆ ಫರ್ಟೈಲ್ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ನೋಡಿ, it increases to the maximum in the climax community. So example of primary succession is newly cooled lava where succession of plants takes place, or barren rock, newly created pond or reservoir where succession of plants takes place. We call it as primary succession. But to establish a biotic community, first fertile soil must be formed. So primary succession is a very, very slow process. It takes a lot of time. It's a gradual, slow and predictable communities that you can see. Secondary succession, the succession taking place in an area after the existing organisms are lost. ಈಗ ಆಸ್ಟ್ರೇಲಿಯಾನಲ್ಲಿ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫೈರ್ ಆಯಿತು, ಥೌಸಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಏಕರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ವಾಸ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಥ ಒಂದು ಬೆಂಕಿಯಿಂದಾಗಿದ್ದು ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫೈರ್. ಎವ್ರಿ ಇಯರ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್, ಬಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇಯರ್ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಮೋರ್. So huge amount of forest was lost. Now this forest area which was lost and earlier where plants existed, now they after the forest fires, new plants are going to form. So this we call it as secondary succession. The succession taking place in an area after the existing organisms are lost. Example, abandoned farmland, burned or cut forest, deforestation ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಗಿಡಗಳು ಬೆಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಿ. ಸೊ ಅದು ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್. ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಆರ್ ಫ್ಲಡೆಡ್, ಸೊ ಪ್ರವಾಹದಿಂದ ಇರುವಂಥ ಗಿಡಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನಾಶ ಮಾಡಿರುವಂಥ ಭೂಮಿಗಳು, ಇಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್. ಆ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ನ ನಾವು ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಆರ್ ಸೆಡಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್. ಮತ್ತೆ secondary succession is faster than primary succession because already the fertile soil and everything is present. The species that invade depend. So ಈಗ ಇಂಥ ಜಾಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ where they have lost the vegetation because of calamities like fire and other things. So the species that invade depend on the nature of soil. Okay, what is the type of soil? Clay soil, loam soil, sandy soil. So based on the nature of soil, availability of water, so you find the type of vegetation that will invade and survive there. Okay, that is about secondary succession is faster than primary succession. ಅದನ್ನ ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. So ecological succession ಅಲ್ಲಿ, in succession what you can notice is changes in vegetation, they affect the food and shelter of animals. ಈಗ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ ದಿ ಸೀರಿಕ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿನಲ್ಲೂ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸಗಳು ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಗಿಡಗಳು ಮರಗಳು ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸಗಳಾಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಫುಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಶೆಲ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ವೇರೀಸ್. ಸೊ thus succession of plants leads to change in numbers and type of animals and decomposes. So the succession of plants, it leads to change in number and type of animals and decomposes. Okay, ಈಗ ಬ್ಯಾರನ್ ರಾಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಂತ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸು ಅಥವಾ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸು ಈಗ ಕ್ಲೈಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರಬಹುದು. ಕ್ಲೈಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ವೆಜಿಟೇಷನ್ನು, ಈ ಸರ್ವೈವ್ ಆಗುವಂತ ಗಿಡಗಳು ಮರಗಳು ಮತ್ತೆ ಡಿಕಂಪೋಸಸ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತಕ್ಕನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So thus succession leads to change in number and type of animal and decomposes. So natural or human induced disturbances like deforestation, fire, etc. convert a particular serial stage to an earlier stage. ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು they had come to this annual plants ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಇಲ್ಲೇನೋ ಬೆಂಕಿನೋ ಏನೋ ಆಯಿತು ಡ್ಯೂ ಟು ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ calamities. So they get back to the older stage, that is lichens. From there, they again go into the next step. So natural or human induced disturbances like deforestation, fire, etc. convert a particular serial stage to an earlier stage. So they create new conditions that encourage some species and discourage or eliminate other species. Okay, so that is going to happen during this various secondary succession. So based on the nature of the habitat, ಯಾವ ವಾತಾವರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ದಿ ಹ್ಯಾಬಿಟ್ಯಾಟ್, ಓಕೆ, ವಾಸಸ್ಥಳ, ಯಾವ ಜಾಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಎರಡು ರೀತಿ ಇದೆ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್. ಹೈಡ್ರಾರ್ಕ್, ನೀರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ನು. ಝೀರಾರ್ಕ್, ಈ ಬಂಡೆಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್. ಹೈಡ್ರಾರ್ಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಝೀರಾರ್ಕ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ nature of habitat basis ಮೇಲೆ plant succession is of two types, hydrarch and xerarch. So hydrarch succession, it takes place in wetter areas. It progresses from hydric to mesic condition, from hydrophytes to mesophytic plants. Okay, they are going to evolve. So hydric succession takes place in a wetter area. It progresses from hydric to mesic condition. So xeric condition, it takes place, the plant succession takes place in dry areas or barren rocks. So it progresses from xerophytic vegetation to mesophytic vegetation. That is, it progresses from xeric to mesic conditions in case of a xeric succession. Hence, both hydrarch and xeric succession leads to medium water condition, that is mesophytic or mesic climax community. ಹೈಡ್ರಾರ್ಕ್ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ನೇ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಝೀರಾರ್ಕ್ ಸಕ್ಸೆಷನ್ನೇ ಆಗಲಿ, ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಫೈನಲ್ ಕ್ಲೈಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಬಂದು ಎರಡರಲ್ಲೂ ಮೀಸಿಕ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿನೇ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಿ ಕ್ಲೈಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಇಸ್ ಮೀಸೋಫೈಟಿಕ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಆರ್ ಮೀಸಿಕ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. Okay, so and it leads to succession of plants which can survive in medium water condition, whether it is hydrarch or xeric. So they finally give to the climax community, which is mesic plants, which can survive in medium amount of water. So the zero habitat, the primary succession on rocks. So the xeric successions. Here lichens are pioneer species. First, ಮೊದಲನೇ ಬಾರಿ ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ ಬೆಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಬಂಡೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಎಂಟಿ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಅದು ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಲೈಕನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಪಯನಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್. ಇವೇನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ದೇ ಸೆಕ್ರೀಟ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ಸ್, ಲೈಕನಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಟು ಡಿಸಾಲ್ವ್ ರಾಕ್ಸ್ and help in weathering and soil formation. So they break this rock particles into small things and they form soil. So they help in lichens by secreting their acid, lichenic acid. They help in weathering and soil formation. So soil formation agate. Climax community forest remains stable if the environment remains unchanged. So the final climax community is in equilibrium with the surrounding environment. So they remain stable, still the environment remains unchanged. So in a xerophytic habitat, lichens are the pioneers. So lichens lead to the next xeric community, that is small plants like bryophytes. They need only small amount of soil, and these death and decay of many generation of bryophytes, they lead to the formation of the fertile soil, which is sufficient for the bigger plants to grow. And finally the bigger plants, after many generations and increasing the soil layer and adding on to the humus by their death and decay, they are going to form the climax community, that is a forest, mesophytic vegetation which can survive in average amount of water. So the final climax community will be a mesophytic generation. So the pioneer species was lichens. Now primary succession in water. So initially in this water, a fresh pond or newly formed pond. So the phytoplanktons are the pioneers in this hydric succession. Phytoplanktons are the pioneers. So then the second level, you find the rooted submerged plants growing there. Then rooted floating angiosperms like Iconia, Pistia, you might find them there. So the third is free floating plants. So rooted floating plants, then free floating plants, you can notice reed swamp stage where you find this amphibious plants growing, marsh meadow stage, scrub stage, and finally the climax community, that is a mesophytic forest. You notice that. So with time, the water body is converted into land. So there is a death of this water body or pond, and they form a climax community, that is a mesophytic forest. So that is what happens in hydrarch succession. So primary succession in water. So the phytoplanktons are the pioneers. So the phytoplankton plants, they give rise to the rooted submerged plants. This leads to rooted floating angiosperms. Then the free floating plants like Iconia, water hyacinth, duckweeds, they're all free floating plants. Reed swamp stage. Okay, so that reed swamp stage next leads to marsh meadow stage, scrub stage, and finally to the trees. That is the climax community is a mesic forest. You can notice this. Final community is a mesic forest. So that is about the ecological successions of the xerarch as well as hydrarch successions. Next, we'll go for the last component of an ecosystem as nutrient cycling. So biogeochemical cycles. So there is gaseous cycles as well as sedimentary cycles. So you can notice there is an oxygen cycle, carbon cycle, then there is a phosphorus cycle. So there is a nitrogen cycle. So there is a sedimentary cycle as well as gaseous cycle. So the nutrient cycling is very important to replenish the nutrients after being used by the organisms. Okay, so that is an important aspect of ecosystem. See, nutrient cycling, Ali, what is it? Nutrient cycling. So it is amount of nutrients, like it can be carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium. They are present in the soil at a given time is called the standing state. ಈಗ ಈ ಒಂದು ದಿನದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ತೆಗೆದು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ನೈಟ್ರೋಜನ್ ಫಾಸ್ಫರಸ್ಸು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಇದೆ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದಿ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಟ್ ಅ ಗಿವನ್ ಟೈಮ್. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನಕ್ಕೆ ಅದು ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್. ಇಟ್ ವೇರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. The standing state varies in different kind of ecosystem and also on seasonal basis. ಒಂದು ಸೀಸನಲ್ಲಿ ನೈಟ್ರೋಜನ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸೀಸನಲ್ಲಿ ನೈಟ್ರೋಜನ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಸೀಸನಲ್ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸಗಳಿರುತ್ತೆ ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್ ಆಸ್ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ದಿ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ದಿ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಡಿಫರ್ಸ್. So nutrients are never lost from ecosystem. They are recycled again and again. So the movement of nutrient elements through various components of an ecosystem is called as nutrient cycling, or we also call this nutrient cycling as biogeochemical cycle. So the movement of nutrient elements through various components of an ecosystem, that is biotic, abiotic components of an ecosystem. So the movement of nutrient elements through various components of an ecosystem is called as nutrient cycling. It can also be called as biogeochemical cycling. So there is nutrients are never lost from an ecosystem. They are recycled again and again. So the types of nutrient cycles are, there are two types of nutrient cycles, the gaseous cycle and sedimentary cycle. The gaseous cycle is the reservoir is atmosphere. So nitrogen and carbon cycle is a gaseous cycle. Sedimentary cycle, the reservoir is Earth's crust. Sedimentary cycle is sulfur cycle, phosphorus cycle. They are all sedimentary cycle. So gaseous cycle, the reservoir is atmosphere. Sedimentary cycle, the reservoir is Earth's crust. So the environmental factors like soil, moisture, pH, temperature, etc., they regulate the rate of release of nutrients into the atmosphere. ಈಗ ಒಂದು ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಯೆಂಟ್ ಅಟ್ಮಾಸ್ಫಿಯರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಗಳಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್, ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೈಲ್ ಹೇಗಿದೆ, ಮಾಯಿಶ್ಚರ್ ಹೇಗಿದೆ, ತೇವ ಇದೆಯಾ, ಪಿ ಎಚ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಥವಾ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ the release of nutrients takes place in the atmosphere. So they regulate, these environmental factors control the rate of release of nutrients. What are those environmental factors? Like soil, moisture, pH, temperature. They control the rate of release of nutrients into the atmosphere. So the reservoir meets with the deficit of nutrients due to the imbalance in the influx, rate of influx and efflux. So there is a reservoir which meets the deficit of nutrients due to the imbalance in the rate of influx and efflux. So we have two cycles for you to study. One is carbon cycle, another is phosphorus cycle. ನಿಮಗೆ ಲೇಬಲಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು, ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದಟ್ ಲೇಬಲಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಈ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ನೋಡಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಸೈಕಲ್ದು. ಸೊ ರಿಸರ್ವಾಯರ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್, ಅಟ್ಮಾಸ್ಫಿಯರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 1% ಇದೆ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ನು. ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 49% ಆಫ್ ಡ್ರೈ ವೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಕಂಟೈನ್ carbon. Oceans contain 71% of the oceans contain dissolved carbon. So it regulates the amount of atmospheric carbon dioxide. So fossil fuel contains carbon. So carbon cycle occurs through atmosphere, ocean, and through living and dead organisms. So you eldru mulkanu ಈ carbon cycling occurs. It occurs through the atmosphere, oceans, and through living and dead organism. ಸೊ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 4 into 10 to the power of 13 kg of carbon is fixed in the biosphere. ಅಷ್ಟು ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಥ್ರೂ ಫೋಟೋಸಿಂಥಸಿಸ್ annually. It is fixed into the biosphere through photosynthesis annually, 4 into 10 to the power of 13 kg. A major amount of carbon returns to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. Whenever we exhale during respiration, we are liberating carbon dioxide. So a major amount of carbon dioxide returns to the atmosphere through the respiration process. So the processing of waste and dead organic matter by decomposers, they also release carbon dioxide. ಕೊಳ್ತೋಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಡಿಕಂಪೋಸರ್ಸ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಟೀರಿಯಾ ಫಂಗೈ ಮೂಲಕ carbon dioxide release agate. So major amount of carbon dioxide is released in the atmosphere through the respiration. Processing of waste and dead organic matter by decomposers, they also release carbon dioxide. So that is some of the things that is happening along. See, some amount of the fixed carbon is lost to sediments and removed from circulation. So it is lost to sediments and removed from circulation, like burning of wood, forest fire, and combustion of organic matter. Fossil fuel and volcanic activity are other sources for releasing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So some amount of the fixed carbon is lost to sediments and removed from circulation. But like burning of wood, forest fire, and combustion of organic matters, uh, fossil fuel and volcanic activity, they release this carbon dioxide into other sources for releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So the anthropogenic activities, that is involvement of human activities in carbon cycle, are deforestation, burning of fossil fuel. They have increased the rate of release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, vehicle exhaust, industrial effluents. So they will all be having the carbon dioxide, which has increased the rate of release of carbon dioxide. This is because of human activities like deforestation, burning of fossil fuels like petrol, diesel, ಇವನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ burn ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ it increases the rate of release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So the next one, ಈ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಬದಲು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಹಾಕಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ XY ಅಂತ ಹಾಕಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ದಟ್. ಸೊ ದಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸೈಕಲ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ಇಸ್ ದಿ ಫಾಸ್ಫರಸ್ ಸೈಕಲ್. ಈಗ ಈ ಸೈಕಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋಣ ಇರಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇನ್ ಅಟ್ಮಾಸ್ಫಿಯರ್ ಇದೆ. So that carbon dioxide is it is so they are going to be fixed. So carbon dioxide in water, they are going to form carbonic acid. So the decay of organisms ivella nadita irutte. So the carbon dioxide are fixed by the plants during photosynthesis. So terrestrial food chains, the plants fix the carbon dioxide during photosynthesis, and they enter into the detritus food chain also. They are going to release the carbon dioxide. Okay, the burning of forest, fuel wood, and organic debris also releases the carbon dioxide into atmosphere. So respiration also leads to liberation of carbon dioxide in atmosphere. So the combustion of fossil vehicles, fuel for vehicles, they also liberate carbon dioxide and heat energy is liberated. Burning of coal is also fossil fuel. So carbon dioxide is released into atmosphere. So the deforestation, burning of fossil fuel, etc., has increased the rate of release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The carbon footprint has increased. That you can understand because of human activities. Natural activities in the carbon footprint has not increased. It is because of human activities like deforestation, burning of fossil fuel, industrial gaseous releases. They have all increased the rate of release of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Loss of trees. If trees are there, they undergo photosynthesis and they fix this atmospheric carbon dioxide. So that also is getting reduced because of lack of number of trees. So like phosphorus cycle is a simple one. See, there is soil ಅಲ್ಲಿ phosphorus ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So that phosphorus, it is taken up by the producer. Soil solution has the phosphorus. So rock minerals, when they break down, weathering ಆದಾಗ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫಾಸ್ಫರಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಟೇಕನ್ ಅಪ್ ಬೈ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್. Okay, from producers, the phosphorus is taken up by the consumers, and from consumers to detritus, and again they get back, this phosphorus gets back to soil solution during this decomposition. ಈಗ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗಿಡಗಳು ಬಿದ್ದ ಎಲೆಗಳು ಉದುರಿದಾಗ ಲಿಟರ್ ಫಾಲ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಇಟ್ ಲೀಡ್ಸ್ ಟು ಡೆಟ್ರೈಟಸ್. Okay, so this is what is the exact phosphorus cycle. So phosphorus is a constituent of very important constituent alva. ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯೋಟೈಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಫಾಸ್ಫೇಟ್ ಬೇಕು, ಬೋನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಫಾಸ್ಫೇಟ್ ಇರಬೇಕು, ದಿ ಫಾಸ್ಫೋ ಬೈಲಿಪಿಡ್ ಲೇಯರ್ ಸೆಲ್ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಫಾಸ್ಫೇಟ್ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಫಾಸ್ಫರಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅನ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಯೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಬಯೋಲಾಜಿಕಲ್ ಮೆಂಬ್ರೇನ್ಸ್. ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಕ್ acids are made up of nucleotides andre they have phosphate group apart from sugar and nitrogenous base. And cellular energy transfer system ಅಲ್ಲಿ phosphorus ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. Many animals use phosphorus to make shells, bones and teeth. So the natural reservoir of phosphorus is rock minerals in the form of phosphates ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So when rocks are weathered, minute amount of phosphates dissolve in soil solution and they are absorbed by the plants. So the herbivores and other animals obtain this from the plants directly or indirectly. The waste products and the dead organisms are decomposed by phosphate solubilizing bacteria. So they are decomposed by phosphate solubilizing bacteria, releasing phosphorus again into soil. Okay, this is what is exactly happening in the nutrient cycling, especially the phosphorus cycle. So differences between carbon and phosphorus cycle. Carbon cycle atmospheric input is higher, phosphorus cycle much smaller. There is a gaseous exchange between organism and environment. Gaseous exchange is negligible. Next, ecosystem services. See various plants, ಇವಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಬೆಲೆ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಗಿಡಗಳಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಸಿಗುವಂತ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್, ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ರೀಸೈಕಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಇವಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಲೇಬರ್ ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಅಂತ ರಾ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಲೇಬರ್ ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಲೆಕ್ಕಾಚಾರ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ we cannot afford to run the ecosystem. So the ecosystem services, they are happening free of cost. Nature is doing it freely, but we are misusing it. If we fix a price tag, we are not in a position to afford these ecosystem services. So the products of ecosystem processes are called as ecosystem services. Ecosystem services of a healthy forest. ಏನೇನ್ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ನಮಗೆ? It purifies air and water. Ecosystem service of a healthy forest. They purify air and water. They mitigate droughts and floods. They cycle nutrients. Okay, they generate fertile soil like humus. They provide wildlife habitat. They maintain biodiversity. So these are ecosystem services of a healthy forest. They also pollinate crops. They provide storage site for carbon. They provide aesthetic. That is, you feel very calm and serene when you're in nature, isn't it? They provide aesthetic, cultural, and spiritual value. So these are the products that we obtain from ecosystem. So which we call it as ecosystem services. So Robert Constanza and his colleagues, they have tried to put price tags on nature's life support services. ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಗ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಮರ ಇಷ್ಟು ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಲಿಬರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಸೊ ಇಷ್ಟು ಸಿಲಿಂಡರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಅದ್ರ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಲಿಬರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಗ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಮರ ಕೊಂಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೂ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್. Okay, researchers have put an average price tag of US dollar 33 trillion a year on fundamental ecosystems. ಇದು billion, million, billion ಅಲ್ಲ, trillion. So more than billion, it is the trillion. So 33 trillion a year on fundamental ecosystem service. ಆದರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಇಡೀ ಮಾನವ ಸಮುದಾಯಕ್ಕೆ ಇಡೀ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬರುವಂತ ಆದಾಯ ಬರೀ 18 ಟ್ರಿಲಿಯನ್. ಈಗ ಈ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಇಂದ ಬರುವಂತ ಆದಾಯ 33 ಟ್ರಿಲಿಯನ್. See, we are missing out on this ecosystem services by not respecting them and by loss of this ecosystem. Out of this total cost, the soil formation itself accounts for about 50% of the total cost is soil formation. So the contributions of other services like recreation and nutrient cycling are less than 10% each. The cost of climate regulation and habitat for wildlife are about 6%. So total cost for the soil formation, 50%, contribution for other services like recreation and nutrient cycling, 10%, climate regulation and habitat for wildlife, that is 6% of the total cost. So that completes our ecosystem part of it. And we'll be having this complete ecosystem unit for your tomorrow's test. Okay, so be prepared for it. Any doubts or clarifications, students, with whatever
Sir,
we have
tomorrow
discussed?
only ecosystem, sir, from bio.
Yeah, it is my paper, alva. So weekly test ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ I'm going to give only ecosystem.
Okay, sir.
That is the part test. The cumulative test ಅಲ್ಲಿ I'll be giving the others also, other syllabus also. Okay, if you have any doubts or clarifications, get it clarified now. ಏನಾದ್ರು ಡೌಟ್ಸ್